What's up, Headliner Nation? Episode 2 of the day. This time we're talking about running backs and tight ends for week 7 of the NFL season. Before we jump into all of this information, again, just like episode 1 today, we're going to be doing a diet version of Let It Flow. We're going to be running through all of our running backs and all of our tight ends, top 30 running backs, top 20 tight ends, and we're going to give you a little bit of breakdown of each of them. But keep in mind, this is supposed to be a quick breakdown, an informational video, so if you have a choice between two players, you can see where we have them in our rankings. If you're wanting a bigger breakdown on some of these guys, our start and sit videos are an excellent way to find that information. Before we jump into all the information here, though, number 1, hit that like button for us. Number 2, hit that subscribe button if you're not a part of Headliner Nation. And number 3, I told you I'd keep you updated on my rankings because we didn't have them at the beginning of the week. Now we do over on Fantasy Pros. Right now I'm 40th overall. Running backs, it's been iffy this year. Unfortunately, I've relied on some of the wrong guys each week. 105 right now. I know that sucks. I get it. That's going to keep getting better, though. I've had a couple of really bad weeks there that have brought that down. But number 1 overall for tight ends. You're calling me the tight end whisperer right now, and I'll take it. I'm whispering right to those tight ends. This is what I want you to do. No, I'm kidding. Not getting that close. Anyway, we got to jump into it now. We're going to be talking about running backs and tight ends for week 7. Let's go. All right, my number 1 running back this week. And the running back rankings have been a big a consensus of Jake and I. So Jake and I talked about a lot of these rankings for running backs and wide receivers this week. Typically, he does those videos. I'm helping him out a little bit this week because I'm going to be out of town for the majority of next week, and he's going to be doing a lot of shows next week. So we talked about a lot of the running backs and wide receivers. So the running backs and wide receivers, kind of a consensus rankings between both of us. Let's talk a little bit about those. Dalvin Cook, number 1 running back this week. Over the last 4 weeks, Detroit is allowing 30 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. Cook is going to eat this week. Number 2, Leonard Fournette. He has had so much volume this season. He is second in the NFL with 141 total touches. Saquon Barkley, the big guy, is back. Get ready for some big plays this week. Maybe they work him back just a little bit slowly, but I think they're going to let him roll this week if he is, in fact, 100%. Number 3 on the list for us. Number 4, Chris Carson. He continues to dominate the Seattle backfield. He will need to have a good game, though, because they're going to have to keep that Baltimore defense off balance. Carson could have a big game. He's going to see a lot of volume this week. David Johnson, is he limited? Is he out? We heard that if they would have had to have played on Friday, he wouldn't have played at all. He gets a couple of extra days, though. They're not going to play until Sunday, obviously. So David Johnson, keep an eye on this. It's a great matchup if he plays. However, we got to see how limited he could potentially be. If Chase Edmonds ends up starting, he will jump up into these rankings. But for right now, we are operating under the impression David Johnson plays. Derrick Henry had a bad game last week, but he's going to bounce back this week. They're really going to focus on that run game, and Ryan Tannehill, I think, does just enough this week to open up the run game for Derrick Henry, so it's not focused on too much by the defense. Ezekiel Elliott hasn't been great so far, but he's getting a ton of volume. It's helped popped up those numbers. This is a tough matchup, but again, you follow that volume. You don't sit Ezekiel Elliott. However, for this week, we got him a little bit lower than normal. Josh Jacobs, they've got limited weapons for Carr this week, so they may lean on Josh Jacobs a little bit more. Again, another volume play for you this week. Marlon Mack at number 9. The Texans are giving up over 25 points per game to opposing running backs, and Mack doesn't have a ton of competition for touches right now. Devonta Freeman coming in at 10. Big game last week, especially in the passing game. The Rams are giving up 26 points per game to opposing running back. Freeman continues to be the main guy there. Again, some of these guys, they might not have nearly as much upside as we would like, but they're big volume plays. That's why we're going to continue to have them up here because the potential is there. And number 11, Todd Gurley. If the Rams can get out in front, I think we see a lot of Todd Gurley this week. Malcolm Brown is banged up, so we'll talk about Henderson here in a couple of minutes. But with him banged up, could be a good day for Gurley. Mark Ingram, this is going to be a close game. Perfect for Ingram this week. No Marquise Brown. Is that going to help him or hurt him? If he's in there, is he going to be able to stretch the field? Is he actually going to be a guy that's going to be worked into the passing game? Is he going to be healthy enough? If he's not in there, is it going to cause the defense to creep up? This one, I'm a little bit iffy on Mark Ingram, but there isn't a ton of great running back plays this week. That's why some of these rankings might surprise you, because I don't love a ton of these matchups. Sony Michel going to come in at number 13. Finally showed up last week. He just didn't get it into the end zone. If he can get it into the end zone this week, he should be a good option. I think we're going to see a lot of him against the Jets in what will be a tough, hard-nosed game. Matt Breida at 14. There continues to be plenty of volume for two running backs to succeed in San Francisco. He's still the main guy for us right now. Latavius Murray stepping in for Kamara this week at number 15. Haven't decided if I'm going to move him a little bit higher in my rankings. I've been looking at it. I'm going to continue to look at it through the next 24 hours, and then we'll kind of go from there and see what happens. I do think it's going to be limited, though. It is the Chicago Bears. I don't think he's going to see nearly as many targets in the passing game, not because he can't do it, because he could. I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater will look his way that often. Coming in at number 16, Frank Gore, definitely starting him over Devin Singletary. Did I almost say Dingleberry? Oh boy, that wouldn't have been good. I ended up saying it anyway, but we're rattling these off, so we can just say hashtag. That's what we're going to call Devin Singletary from now on. I'm going to run it by Jake, and we'll see what he says. But Gore coming in at number 16. He's my pick of the two Bills running backs this week. I definitely think they're going to lean on Gore. No sense to rush Singletary back. No reason to throw him in there and potentially get him hurt again. This is going to be a game that they should easily win. No need to get Singletary out there too often. Carlos Hyde, again, a volume play this week. He continues to get the workload. Can the Texans get out in front? If they can, that will be key. That could give Hyde the volume he needs. Le'Veon Bell's probably a little bit low right now, but this New England defense has been very, very good. Could he have some upside? He could. They're going to end up being down, but I don't think Sam Darnold is going to look to pass to Le'Veon Bell as much as we would possibly like this week. And again, don't love the matchup, but we've talked about it on an episode this week already. Le'Veon Bell is one of our number one buys right now because after this week, if he has a bad game this week, go out, get Le'Veon Bell for the rest of the season. He's going to have a big end to the year. Tevin Coleman at 19. Again, Redskins are giving up over 30 points per game to opposing running backs right now. More than enough volume, a game in which the 49ers should absolutely win. Coleman and Breida can both eat in this offense. James White, always a solid PPR option. Kerryon Johnson, I am worried about his upside again this week as well. Again, we're looking at a lot of guys this week as volume plays. They just don't have really good matchups. I'm not loving a lot of the running backs this week. Kerryon Johnson is another one. Love the volume, hate the matchup. Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon at 22 and 25. What's going to happen with these guys? Nobody's stepped up. Who's going to step up? When is Melvin Gordon going to bounce back? Yes, he might need some time. He's missed some time, so we may need to give him a little bit more time, but I don't think this is the week that it happens. Aaron Jones at 23. We're worried about Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams we have at 28 this week because Williams showed up and played well last week when Jones got pulled out of the game for some plays. Jones has got to hang on to the football. Jones has got to make those plays. He can't drop those open touchdowns. Can he do that this week? Jones is one of the top players at running backs in terms of touches this year. We would love to see him with more touches because he is definitely the better back than Jamal Williams. He just hasn't pulled away with the job yet. Joe Mixon should see some volume this week, but I think he's a really, really bad play this week. He hasn't done anything yet this season, really. He's going to have a good game this week. I don't see that happening. Again, Devin Singletary, talked about him already. I don't think he's just going to be thrown right back into the mix. David Montgomery, when he gets his volume, when he has his first big game, I'm going to cry a little bit because he deserves it. He deserves more volume. Want to see him play more. Want to see him touching the ball more. It just hasn't happened. Jamal Williams, mentioned him with Aaron Jones. Miles Sanders, dude should be on the field a lot more. He is a playmaker. No disrespect to Jordan Howard, who has played well this year, but Miles Sanders needs to be on the field more. If he did, he would be a flex play every single week. We have some concerns about that type of volume, though. There could be a game where you just don't see a whole lot of him. He needs to be used more often. And then Darrell Henderson at number 30, just because, again, Todd Gurley's been limited in his games this season. Malcolm Brown is hurt right now. Could see some Darrell Henderson this week. All right, let's hop into those tight ends now. Kyle, the tight end whisperer, bringing you his tight end picks of the week. Evan Ingram, he gets the Cardinals. Enough said. Don't need to bring it up. Number one tight end for me. George Kittle at number 2. He continues to be the leading receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of that, again, this week. Continue to play him over and over. Austin Hooper, again, I mentioned this in the wide receivers, If Jalen Ramsey is able to limit Julio Jones in any way, shape, or form, then Ridley and Hooper, I think, see big games this week. Hooper continues, even in an offense that has plenty of targets for Matt Ryan, Hooper continues to be at the top of those targets. Mark Andrews at number 4. Seattle's giving up over 15 fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. No Malcolm Brown this week. It's possible. Mark Andrews, big week incoming. Number 5, Jimmy Graham. Haven't been very high on him this season, but this is a week that definitely could play out. Again, not a whole lot happening for the wide receivers in Green Bay. Lots of injuries. Jimmy Graham can end up having a huge week. Also, the Raiders, they can't stop tight ends. This is his week. Zach Ertz at number 6. The Cowboys are giving up over 13 fantasy points per game to tight ends. Ertz could see the most targets of anyone on the team this week. I expect a really good game out of him. Our boy Hunter Henry is back. He is rolling. Looked really good that last week. Expect him to look good again this week. Darren Waller at number 8. It is a tough matchup, but the one thing that I've seen from Darren Waller, he plays well against teams that run a lot of zone coverage. Green Bay's going to run a lot of zone coverage. Keep an eye on Darren Waller this week. Could still end up playing well, especially with limited weapons for Derek Carr. TJ Hawkinson at number 9. He hasn't done a whole lot this year. His better performances have been against teams that give up a lot of fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Minnesota is giving up quite a bit. They don't stop the tight end well. Expect TJ Hawkinson to have big touchdown upside this week. In number 10 and 11, Darren Fells, Jordan Akins. One of these guys is going to be a locked-in tight end one this week. It could end up happening to both. For sure, one of them will be. Right now, the third worst team in terms of fantasy points per game, the Indianapolis Colts. One of these guys will have a bigger game than the other. Darren Fells has been the touchdown guy so far. He's been the one getting the looks in the red zone. That's why I'm going to put him just ahead of Jordan Akins this week. Both of them could end up having good games. I will go with Fells over Akins this week. Dawson Knox at number 12. I got a lot of questions about Tyler Kroft coming back. I'm not worried about it right now. Kroft isn't going to step in and just start right away because Dawson Knox has looked really good. If he's got that chemistry building with Josh Allen, there's no reason to toss Kroft in there and take a bunch of targets and snaps away from Dawson Knox. Gerald Everett, really have liked him the last couple of weeks. However, this week, it's time for those wide receivers to shine. Not as nearly as high as an upside for Gerald Everett. For Delaney Walker, could be a very good safety blanket. For Ryan Tannehill this week, could see a decent amount of targets. Needs to have a big week. Needs to get going again. Tannehill could be that guy to make that happen. Jason Witten at 15. He's going to be touchdown dependent. That's it. He's got to find the end zone. Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron. Doyle's going to get the volume. Eric Ebron's going to get the touchdowns. Neither of them are going to get anything this week because Houston locks down tight ends. They can't stop wide receivers. They can stop tight ends. Tyler Eifert, Dallas Goedert, Chris Herndon, all three of these guys are touchdown upsides for me. That's the only reason I'm going to be playing them. Chris Herndon is going to be a lot higher as the season goes on. Again, though, he's still limited, still dealing with a little bit of an injury. They have not for sure said that he is out yet this week at the time of this recording. So, against a tough New England defense, I'm going to have him a lot lower in the rankings. Mentioned it with Zach Ertz already. Could see a lot of targets to the tight ends this week. Dallas Goedert could be a touchdown-dependent play. Same thing for Tyler Eifert. Would have to find the end zone. Ladies and gentlemen of Headliner Nation, there you have it. We broke down our running backs and tight ends in this episode. Went through a lot of them. Again, with the running backs, there's a lot of volume plays this week, but there are not a lot of great matchups. So there might be some odd names moved around, guys that you look at and say, they're a little bit higher than I would expect. We're going to have to pick and choose our running backs wisely this week, and we'll talk about that more on the live show Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Every single Saturday, you can catch us right here on YouTube. Hit that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button for me. Make sure you turn on the bell notifications as well, so anytime we go live or we drop content, you're going to be notified right away. Headliner Nation, appreciate you tuning in to another video. Thanks so much. We'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great one, everybody.